Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up this week's theme of this exploration of sludge metal with a band called BRIQUEVILLE. I can't say I've ever heard of them before, and I don't even think I'm going to be pronouncing the song title correctly. AKTE? AKTE. If it is AKTE, it's AKTE 17. I don't know, I have no idea what's going on. Let's just dive straight into this and figure it out as we go. This has been a solid week for bass tones, and this final song is not disappointing. I mean, look at this. All of the most of the volumes here at the low end. The bass is just filling up so much of that space. Taking their time getting into this. Really atmospheric so far. It's still atmospheric. But we had like this impending doom followed by a sharp rise in tension. And now to this driving momentum. Like a train just chugging forward. Really warm, sounds like vocal ooze off to the side. Swirling over here. Unexpectedly cool. Ooh. Yeah, move into the triplet feel. I think that's actually specifically pushing a really slow hemiola. Yep. It's a 3 against 2, but it's so slow. It feels like this song's dragging down. Yeah, that vocal fry delivery. Yeah. I mean, I think it's obvious what they do well on this. It's the atmosphere. Whether it's slow and brooding or antagonistic and driving or just eerie, intense. Every one of these sections is filled to the brim with sounds that lean into that emotion, crafting that overall atmosphere to these tracks. It is what the song not only does well, but also sort of does in exclusion of pretty much everything else. There really isn't a sense of melody throughout this, even though we do get a pitched vocal line around the midway part of the song. It's so slowly delivered and a bit more on a sort of talky sort of delivery until we get up to the higher range stuff, and we'll talk about that in a second. But it sort of just comes across as being spoken to. It's very close to spoken word with a bit of pitch intentionality to it. Then he shifts over into the falsetto and brings in these very cool Middle Eastern melodic vibes and puts that over the heavy darkness of the metal, and it's just a really great combination. It also stands in contrast to the rest of the track because it is a lone moment of melody writing. It stands as a unique portion of this track that everything else juxtaposes. And so to me, the song, I don't think I have a lot to talk about regarding it. We open the track with like 3 minutes of a slow burn, moving through two ideas. One of them primarily is just the bass laying down this massive foundation and some ambient tones around it, with the guitar laying some chords down in order to craft our opening atmosphere. This dark, brooding, slow moving concept. From there, we introduce heavy dissonance to create a level of tension on top of the darkness. Then we bring in more of a metal approach, still a bit atmospheric, foundation, rhythm, and texture, more so than melody and harmony. This also brings in the slightly faster moving bass. I mentioned this section felt like a train. We were moving towards somewhere, and there's no chance of us stopping anymore. Whatever was slow and brooding and just off in the periphery is now giving chase, and we're running. From here, the vocals kick in though. In this section, I don't know exactly how to feel about it yet. But after this, we experience our outro, which is a very cool metric modulation. I want to talk about this real quick because I feel like this is one of the more interesting elements of the track on a technical level. We have a rhythm that dictates the tempo, or we have a tempo that dictates the rhythm, I suppose. Regardless, we have this 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Steady tempo. And then we have a rhythm that goes along with it. I don't quite remember what that rhythm is, but it's clearly in line with that. We emphasize each of the downbeats. But then we change it. We slow things down quite a bit, shifting to a triplet feel, working with a 2 against 3 vibe, which is a hemiola. For every 2 beats, we have 3 elsewhere. And it feels like the whole song drags, like we get pulled into quicksand. And initially, because the timbres of the guitars and bass that are playing this rhythm don't change, because the rhythm doesn't change, because everything is so very samey, the pitch is the same. The only thing that's different is we're playing less notes, and not like divisible by 2, and we're not playing it cut in half or anything where I can just say, oh, we've shifted from quarter notes to whole notes, or quarter notes to half notes would be a cutting it in half. um, but it feels a little different than that. It's very easy to feel half time and double time because they are multiplicative of 2. But feeling something like this, it's different. It's not exactly half as slow, and so it feels to me at least originally like it's a tempo change. We've actually slowed the song down, but then we don't. We pull back into the quarter note emphasis. And that's when I realized when we pulled the song back, the drums are still emphasizing the original tempo, the original time signature. So they make it feel like we're dragging. They make it feel like the song is slowing down. They make it feel like we've stepped into quicksand and are slowly descending. But they do it entirely with rhythm. Nothing about the properties of the song are changing at all. They're just playing less notes per bar. And I love that. I really do. It's such an effective tool, and I think I love even more the cheekiness of keeping the drums in there on the original tempo, the original rhythmic pattern, to highlight, if you want to look for it, yeah, we're not slowing down at all. The tempo hasn't changed a bit, but you certainly feel like we are. And it's sort of like, it's tongue-in-cheek to me. It's sort of like winking when you do a magic trick. You're like, yeah, this is all fake. It's all sleight of hands. But watch this rubber ball disappear. And like, you're kind of letting them know it's not real. But at the same time, the audience can't help but be fooled even by being told that none of this is real. And the same thing happens here. Like, even though I heard the drum, even though they're clearly saying the tempo's not changing, I can't help but feel like I'm getting dragged down every time. And it's such a great illusion. It is so good. And I have to give them extra props, extra credit, just more clapping, I suppose. For doing that. I don't know if there was another reason. Maybe that wasn't their intent to keep the drums on the original beat. Maybe it's entirely functional. Maybe they had such a tough time playing it live, returning back to the original tempo. They're like, dude, just keep playing it. Just keep playing the tempo back there. Be our metronome, please, so we can get back up to the proper tempo again, proper speed. I have no idea. But the end result is that to me, it feels like being in on the joke and the joke still being funny. It's that level of self awareness where it's still effective. And, just from a pure music and composition standpoint, I love it. It is such a great section. It's so well done. Um, like I said, maybe there's another reason for keeping the drums there. Maybe they have their own reasons for it. That's my reading of it though, as a listener of it. Was there anything else I wanted to bring up? Just overall tone, I think the production of this sounds great. The instruments are large and booming. A lot of this ties into the song feeling as good as it is. I remember what I wanted to bring up now, because I wanted to save it to last because it doesn't really have much to do with the song itself. It is Sludge Metal Week. This isn't sludge metal though, is it? At best, maybe atmospheric sludge metal, but I see it more in the post rock, post metal realm, and I know there's a lot of blurriness in there. I think I'm just going to leave it at that. There are things I want to talk about, specifically some comments that y'all have left and educated me on this genre over the week. I'm going to save it for tomorrow's theme thoughts, though. Those will come out, I don't know when. Usually they'll come out at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, but I also have the second edition of my album of the year list coming out tomorrow at that same time. Maybe I'll just drop them at the same time. I don't know. They're both occupying my bonus Saturday slot. I don't usually have two bonus videos for a weekend. But I think this one I'm going to further talk about sludge metal, and particularly something like this that kind of feels sludgy but isn't quite sludge metal, especially compared to what sludge metal is by definition, which I think is going to be a really interesting conversation. But this was a great way to end the week, and it further cemented a week of just really great bass tones. So I'm happy. I'm gonna let it slide. It's a great way to end it. Let's dive into some lyrics, and we'll go from there. All right, I couldn't find any lyrics for it, but I did discover it is the title is a Dutch word called AKTE, so I was close, and it translates to the word deed. But I don't know what definition of deed. According to Google Translate, more translations could be document or certificate or diploma, so it could be a paper showcasing an ownership of something. But I don't know if that's what Google Translate does. They show you synonyms so you know what definition you're looking at, because deed could also be an action. Regardless, all of their tracks are called that, which I thought was pretty cool. They've had 4 albums. I'm not sure. They're all short, track-wise. So I'm not sure if I would call them all EPs or not. But yeah, starting from October 2014, they released. Oh, they call that one an LP. There's 4 tracks on it. Oh, it is close to 40 minutes, so definitely LP territory. And the tracks are called 1, 2, 3, and 4. And a few years later, they released album 2. And this is where they took on the AKTE nomenclature, and all of their tracks are AKTE 5, AKTE 6, AKTE 7. It picks up after track 4, and this is what they've done ever since. This album came out in November of last year, relatively new, and it starts with AKTE 16 and goes up to AKTE 20. It's an interesting concept to call these deeds. Not to name the songs, not to give them an identity, they're all just deeds. They're all things that they've done and or possibly things that they've owned. Documents that they've released out into the world with no characterization to them past a numbering system. Even their albums. Their first one is self-titled, BRIQUEVILLE. Their second and possibly third, I think it's very strange. Their second album is just Roman numeral 2. Their fourth album is Roman numeral 3. Their third album, though, is called Quell. I thought maybe this was an EP, but it has the most amount of tracks at 8. Still quite long. Kind of curious about all of this. I'm falling down a rabbit hole here. I did find a quick description on the New Noise magazine website where they interviewed the band, and they said that this track specifically has a unique bass tone to it. They put a recording device on top of the bass cab, and the result was this growl that was recorded of the bass. So not necessarily something that's going to be on every track, I suppose. Also says that the rest of this octave is an emotional roller coaster that never looks back and doesn't have recurring themes, an endless march forward, which is exactly how I read it. It was about a stillness, a tension, and then a direction. It is, to me, very much a song that doesn't look back. Although I interpreted that as a type of fear. I don't know what their intention was. Alright. Glad to know I'm a little bit on track with things as far as their intentions, implementing them into the music, and me being able to read what they were aiming for. Those are my thoughts on BRIQUEVILLE's AKTE, what was it? 16? 17? I can't remember what track we were on. Let me know your thoughts and perspectives on this. If you enjoyed it, anything stood out to you, maybe this is a new band you hadn't heard of before and you're going to do a deep dive on their stuff now. Let me know all that. We're going to have a real big Sludge conversation tomorrow if you want to hold on to those thoughts regarding the genre and its sounds and history. Alright. Above the comment section in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you to this menu right here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a schedule for the channel, ways to support the channel. You can, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff in there. Go ahead and check it out. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. Alright, that wraps it up for this one. We do have some brand new music coming out next. 2 brand new musics. A bit of an oddity doing 3 videos on a Friday. We used to do this often, and it's a ridiculous schedule to keep doing, but there's something that I wanted to check out today, and some new sludge metal that came out this week. So we're just going to do both of them. And then we're going to do 2 videos tomorrow morning. This is a busy schedule for me. Looking forward to next week when I go back to the regular amount of videos we always do. Alright. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.